The world champion Peter Sagan opening the World Tour season with the Santos Tour Down Under. And I can always tell you where we are when we see a kangaroo. The start of the first stage, 145 kilometres from Unley to Lindok, where there will be 3 finishing circuits, or would there?
But before the riders got themselves to the race start proper, there was a long neutralised section going right past the village square at Victoria. And that's where the riders spend every night here at the Santos Tour Down Under. So at the start, a little time for a chat.
Everybody in jovial mood, not least the world champion Peter Sagan. Then the flag pulled in by 1984 Olympic gold medalist on the track Mike Turter, who's directed this race since inception 19 years ago. It was quite a slow motion attack that took Laurens de Vries of Belgium into the lead. Nobody was interested. The weather was scorching at 41 degrees Celsius.
But once the Belgian riders' advantage got to 4.5 minutes, it was the team at Orica Scott got themselves to the front to try and reduce his advantage.
They got it down to 3 minutes as the riders went towards the first Subaru King of the Mountains challenge of the day, just 38 kilometres in. There was no relent of the heat from the sun, and the riders were simply not interested in chasing down the lone leader. So it was onto the only King of the Mountains of the day, and de Vries was going to take an early lead in this Subaru competition.
Well, that was a reward for his breakaway on the day, but as he was starting to have his advantage crumble, news came over the race radio that the race organisation had decided to reduce the number of laps at the finish around Lindok from 3 to 2 because of the hot climatic conditions.
And as a result of that, it would be reduced from 145 kilometres to 118.5. So the crowd wouldn't see them come through 4 times as they finish. They would only see them come through 3, including the finish itself.
But importantly, on the finishing circuits, there were 2 sprint points with time bonus available for the first 3 riders to cross the line. There was no debating who was going to get the first one through. De Vries led the main field, led ahead of everybody else. But in the main field behind, they were sprinting for 2 and 1 second time bonuses.
So the II-Net sprint, no worry about the first. De Vries getting 3 seconds, but quite a battle for the 2 and the 1 second. De Vries, Nathan Haas leading out here, but watch out for number 1 through on the left-hand side. He was given that, Simon Gerrans, in a photo finish, a single second, and that could be vital as this race unfolds over the next 5 days.
More importantly, the riders are taking on board as many drinks as possible on a day when we saw the temperatures go as high as 42 degrees Celsius, and all the time Laurens de Vries was surviving off the front end of the main field.
Even the roses were starting to curl around the edges, but the riders knew now, and in fact they were almost half an hour behind schedule anyway, would now do 18 kilometres less, and strange enough it would bring them in on the sort of time one would have expected for the normal distance.
Just before they got to the final sprint point of the day at Cockatoo Vale, Laurens de Vries got pulled back into the main field at 20 kilometres to go. So when they came to the final sprint point, there was going to be a big sprint for the first 3 riders to cross the line and hunt for those small time bonus seconds.
Yes, down into Cockatoo Valley for the second and last time. It should have been the 100 kilometre point, but of course we're now 18 kilometres shorter. Big lead out here because the riders were lucky to bring Jay McCarthy to the line. He's a very, very fast sprinter and won the second day of this race, his only pro victory a year ago. The battle was for 3 seconds, 2 seconds and 1. This race is always won overall by seconds. That was Gonsalves leading out in the red jersey, but coming over the top of him, Jay McCarthy getting a 3-second bonus. And third,
Simon Gerrans in that lime green jersey of Orica Scott, and he's got himself 2 time bonus seconds out on the day, but it was McCarthy who was the fastest to the line at that point.
Into the final kilometres of the day. The ground looking a little bit parched now. The riders over 3.25 hours in the saddle. They came down to the 1 kilometre banner all to finish together. And this is what the sprinters wanted now. Heads were switching by the domestics, looking where the sprint leaders were. This was a real push and a shove down towards the finishing line. And as they came into a long, thin line, it was Peter Sagan leading out his teammate in black, Sam Bennett. As Sagan got out of the way, there was a challenge down the rails. It was Caleb Ewan. Up through the middle was Danny Van Poppel in the black with the blue stripe. And on the line, it was a convincing win again for the young Orica Scott rider as Caleb Ewan took the stage victory.
But what a great job of work done by Peter Sagan, the world champion in the middle, trying to lead out his teammate Sam Bennett. But hugging the barriers over on the right-hand side of the picture, Caleb Ewan timed it to perfection.
This little powerhouse who won 2 days ago in the centre of Adelaide as an hors d'oeuvre to this event did exactly what he had done a year ago and then taken out the first stage proper. His reward, the first leader's ochre jersey, as we go out onto the second day of racing, which will be a real challenge. Let's hear from him now.
Well, Caleb, a very hot day in the saddle, but when you come across the line in first place, it's worth the suffering.
Yeah, you know, it was really stinking hot out there today, and you know, I think everyone felt the heat, and it was probably a good idea for the race to shorten a little bit because, you know, we were just rolling around out there in the sun, and it can't be too good for you. So yeah, you know, I'm super happy to get that win. It was a really close one in the end.
With about 3 or 4 kilometres to go, Orica Scott were noticeable by their absence. It was as if you guys knew that you had to wait a long time before you started to take control.
Yeah, you know, we obviously don't have the manpower that some of the other teams have come here with our tour ambitions in this tour. So, you know, we have to really use our guys conservatively and so we can get the best out of them. And, you know, they did an amazing job in the end and, yeah, delivered me perfectly again.
And tomorrow you'll be pulling on the leader's overall jersey.
Yeah, you know, it's going to be a really nice feeling. And, yeah, it's like a repeat of last year. So I'm super happy with that. Thank you.
It certainly was. He won the opening stage last year when it came in from nearby Prospect. This time it came down from Unley. And so Caleb Ewan, his 4th win of the year, and that's a great start for him. And now he goes out in the ochre jersey on the opening day of 148.5 kilometres. It'll be stage 2 as we head from Stirling in the Adelaide Hills to Parracombe. He's not a climber, so expect changes tomorrow.